of spiritual advancement in the four ashramas, which are known as brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyasa. The brahmachari should live under the care of the true spiritual master, giving him sincere respect and obeisances, acting as his menial servant and always carrying out his order. The brahmachari should engage himself in spiritual activities and study the Vedic literature under the direction of the spiritual master. According to the brahmacharya system, he should dress with a belt, deerskin, and matted hair, and should bear a danda, water pot, and sacred thread. He should collect alms daily in the morning, and in the evening, whatever alms he has collected, he should offer to the spiritual master. A brahmachari should accept prasada upon the order of the spiritual master, and if the spiritual master sometimes forgets to order the disciple to eat, the disciple should not take prasada on his own initiative. Rather, he should fast. The brahmachari should be trained to be satisfied with eating what is absolutely necessary. He should be very expert in executing responsibilities. He should be faithful, and he should control his senses and try to avoid the association of women as far as possible. A brahmachari should very strictly abstain from living with women and should not meet with grihastas and those too addicted to women. Nor should a brahmachari speak in a loud, lonely place with a woman. After completing this education as a brahmachari in this way, one should give dakshina, an offering of gratitude, to one's guru, and then one may leave for home and accept the next ashrama, the grihastha ashrama, or else one may continue in the brahmacharya ashrama without adulteration. The duties of the grihastha ashrama and brahmacharya ashrama, as well as the duties for sannyasis, are prescribed in the shastras. A grihastha is not meant to enjoy sex life without restriction. Indeed, the whole purpose of Vedic life is to become free from sexual indulgence. All the ashramas are recognized for spiritual progress, and therefore, although the Grihastha ashrama gives a kind of license for sex life for a certain time, it does not allow unrestricted sex life. Therefore, in Grihastha life also there is no illicit sex. A Grihastha should not accept a woman for sexual enjoyment. Wasting semen is also illicit sex. After the Grihastha ashram is another ashrama known as Vanaprastha, which is midway between Grihastha and Sannyasa. A person in the Vanaprastha order is restricted in eating food grains and forbidden to eat fruits that have not ripened on the tree, nor should he cook food with fire, although he is allowed to eat charu, grains that have been offered in a sacrificial fire. He may also eat fruits and grains that have grown naturally. Living in a thatched cottage, the Vanaprastha should endure all kinds of heat and cold. He should not cut his nails or hair, and he should give up cleaning his body with and teeth. He should wear tree bark, accept a danda, and practice life in the forest, taking a vow to live there for 12 years, 8 years, 4 years, 2 years, or at least 1 year. At last, when, because of old age, he can no longer perform the activities of a vanaprastha, he should gradually stop everything and in this way give up his body. Text number 1. Sri Narada Uvacha Brahmachari Guru Kule Vasan Danto Gurur Hitam Acharan Dasavan Nicho Guru Sudrida Sohrida. Narada Muni said, a student should practice completely controlling his senses. He should be submissive and should have an attitude of firm friendship for the spiritual master. With a great vow, the brahmachari should live at the Guru Kula only for the benefit of the Guru. Text 2. At both junctions of day and night, namely in the early morning and in the evening, he should be fully absorbed in thoughts of the spiritual master, fire, the sun god, and Lord Vishnu, and by chanting the Gayatri mantra, he should worship them. Being called by the Supreme Master, the student should study the Vedic mantras regularly. Every day before beginning his studies and at the end of his studies, the disciple should respectfully offer obeisances unto the spiritual master. Text 4. Carrying pure kusa grass in his hand, the brahmachari should dress regularly with a belt of straw and with deerskin garments. He should wear matted hair, carry a rod and water pot, and be decorated with a sacred thread as recommended in the Shastras. Text 5. The brahmachari should go out morning and evening to collect alms, and he should offer all that he collects to the spiritual master. He should eat only if ordered to take food by the spiritual master. Otherwise, if the spiritual master does not give his order, he may sometimes have to fast. Text 6. A brahmachari should be quite well behaved and gentle, and should not eat or collect more than necessary. He must always be active and expert, fully believing in the instructions of the spiritual master and the Shastra. Fully controlling his senses, he should associate only as much as necessary with women or those controlled by women. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. A brahmachari should be very careful not to mix with women or with men addicted to women. Although when he goes out to beg alms, it is necessary to talk with women and with men very much attached to women. This association should be very short, and he should talk with them only about begging alms and not more. A brahmachari should be very careful in associating with men who are attached to women. Text number 7. A brahmachari, or one who has not accepted the grihastha ashrama, meaning family life, must rigidly avoid talking with women or about women, for the senses are so powerful that they may agitate even the mind of a sannyasi, a member of the renounced order of life. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Brahmacharya essentially means the vow not to marry, but to observe strict celibacy, brihad vrata. A brahmachari or sannyasi should avoid talking with women or reading literature concerning talks between man and woman. The injunction restricting association with women is the best is the basic is the basic principle of spiritual life. Associating or talking with women is never advised in any of the Vedic literatures. The entire Vedic system teaches one to avoid sex life so that one may gradually progress from brahmacharya to grihastha, from grihastha to vanaprastha, and from vanaprastha to sannyasa, and thus give up material enjoyment, which is the original cause of bondage to the material world. The word Brihad Vrata refers to one who has decided not to marry, or in other words, not to indulge in sex life throughout his entire life. Text 8. If the wife of the spiritual master is young, a young brahmachari should not allow her to care for his hair, massage his body with oil, or bathe him with affection like a mother. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The relationship between the student or disciple and the wife of the spiritual master or teacher is like that between son and mother. A mother sometimes cares for her son by combing his hair, massaging his body with oil, or bathing him. Similarly, the wife of the teacher is also a mother, Guru Patni, and therefore she may also care for the disciple in a motherly way. If the wife of the teacher is a young woman, however, a young brahmachari should not allow such a mother to touch him. This is strictly prohibited. There are 7 kinds of mothers. Atma Mata Guru Patni, Brahmani Raja Patnika, Denur Datri Tata Prithvi, Saptaita Matara Smita. These mothers are the original mother, the wife of the teacher or spiritual master, the wife of a brahmana, the king's wife, the cow, the nurse, and the earth. Unnecessary association with women, even with one's mother, sister, or daughter, is strictly prohibited. This is human civilization, a civilization that allows men to mix unrestrictedly with women is an animal civilization. In Kali Yuga, people are extremely liberal, but mixing with women and talking with them as equals actually constitutes an uncivilized way of life. Well, woman is compared to fire, and man is compared to a butter pot. Therefore, a man should avoid associating even with his own daughter in a secluded place. Similarly, he should also avoid association with other women. One should associate with women only for the important business and not otherwise. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. If a butter pot and fire are kept together, the butter within the pot will certainly melt. Woman is compared to fire, and man is compared to a butter pot. However advanced one may be in restraining the senses, it is almost impossible for a man to keep himself controlled in the presence of a woman, even if she is his own daughter, mother, or sister. Indeed, his mind is agitated even if one is in the renounced order of life. Therefore, Vedic civilization carefully restricts mingling between men and women. If one cannot understand the basic principle of restraining association between man and woman, he is to be considered an animal. That is the purport of this verse. Text number 10. As long as a living entity is not completely self-realized, as long as he is not independent of the misconceptions of identifying with his body, which is nothing but a reflection of the original body and senses. He cannot be relieved of the conception of duality, which is epitomized by the duality between man and woman. Thus, there is every chance that he will fall down because his intelligence is bewildered. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Here is another important warning that a man must save himself from attraction to women. Until one is self-realized, fully independent of the illusory conception of the material body, the duality of man and woman must undoubtedly continue. But when one is actually self-realized, this distinction ceases. Vidya vinaye sampane, brahmane gavi hastini, sunichaiva swapakecha, pandita samadarshina. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater, or outcast. Bhagavad Gita 5.18. On the spiritual platform, the learned person not only gives up the duality of man and woman, but also gives up the duality of man and animal. This is the test of self-realization. One must realize perfectly that the living being is spirit, soul, but is tasting various types of material bodies. One may theoretically understand this, but when one has practical realization, then he actually becomes a pandita, one who knows. Until that time, the duality continues, and the conceptions of man and woman also continues. In this stage, one should be extremely careful about mixing with women. No one should think of himself perfect and forget the Shastric injunction that one should be very careful about associating even with his daughter, mother, or sister, not to speak of other women. Srila Madhvacharya cites the following slokas in this regard. Bahut venaiva vasta anam, and so forth. Unity in variety is real knowledge, and therefore giving up variety artificially does not reflect perfect knowledge of monism. According to the Achintya Bheda philosophy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there are varieties, but all of them constitute one unit. Such knowledge is knowledge of perfect oneness. Text 11. All the rules and regulations apply equally to the householder and the sannyasi, the member of the renounced order of life. The grihasta, however, is given permission by the spiritual master to indulge in sex during the period favorable for procreation. It is some purport by Srila Prabhupada. It is sometimes misunderstood that a grihasta, a householder, is permitted to indulge in sex at any time. This is a wrong conception of grihasta life. In spiritual life, whether one is a grihasta, vanaprastha, sannyasi, or brahmachari, everyone is under the control of the spiritual master. For brahmacharis and sannyasis, there are strong restrictions on sexual indulgence. Similarly, there are strong restrictions for grihastas. Grihastas should indulge in sex life only in accordance with the order of the Guru. Therefore, it is mentioned here that one must follow the orders of the spiritual master, Guru Vitir Vikalpena. When the spiritual master orders, the Grihastha may accept sex life. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7.11. Dharma virudo bhutesu kamo smi. Indulgence in sex life without disobedience to the religious rules and regulations constitutes a religious principle. The Grihastha is allowed to indulge in sex life during the period favorable for procreation and in accordance with the spiritual master's order. If the spiritual master orders allow a Grihastha to engage in sex life at a particular time, then the Grihastha may do so. Otherwise, if the spiritual master orders against it, the Grihastha should abstain. The Grihastha should abstain. The Grihastha must obtain permission from the spiritual master to observe the ritualistic ceremony of Garbhodana Samskara. Then he may approach his wife to beget children, otherwise not. A Brahmana generally remains a brahmachari throughout his entire life. But although some Brahmanas become Grihasthas and indulge in sex life, they do so under the complete control of the spiritual master. The Kshatriya is allowed to marry more than one wife, but this also must be in accordance with the instructions of the spiritual master. It is not that because one is a Grihastha, he may marry as many times as he likes and indulge in sex life as he likes. This is not spiritual life. In spiritual life, one must conduct one's whole life under the guidance of the Guru. Only one who executes his spiritual life under the direction of the spiritual master can achieve the mercy of Krishna. Yasya prasada, Bhagavat prasada. If one desires to advance in spiritual life, but he acts whimsically, not following the orders of the spiritual master, he has no shelter. Yasya prasadam na gati kutopi. Without the spiritual master's order, even the Grihastha should not indulge in sex life. Okay, should we stop right there? We have some more time. Yeah. Text number 12. Brahmacharis or Grihasthas who have taken the vow of celibacy, as described above, should not indulge in the following: applying powder or ointment to the eyes, massaging the head with oil, massaging the body with the hands, seeing a woman or painting a woman's picture, eating meat, drinking wine, decorating the body with flower garlands, smearing scented ointment on the body, or decorating the body with ornaments. These they should give up. Text 13 and 14. According to the rules and regulations mentioned above, one who is twice born, namely a Brahmana, Kshatriya, or Vaishya, should reside or live in the Gurukula under the care of the spiritual master. There he should study and learn all the Vedic literatures along with their supplements and the Upanishads, according to his ability and power to study. If possible, the student or disciple should reward the spiritual master with the remuneration the spiritual master requests, and then, following the master's order, the disciple should leave and accept one of the other ashramas, namely the Grihastha ashrama, Vanaprastha ashrama, or Sannyasa ashrama, as he desires. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. To study the Vedas and understand them, of course, requires requires some special intelligence. But the members of the three higher sections of society, namely the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, must learn the Vedic literatures according to their capability and power to understand. In other words, studying the Vedic literatures is compulsory for everyone but the Sudras and Antyajas. The Vedic literature gives the knowledge that can lead one to understand the absolute truth, Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan. Gurukula, or the reformatory educational institution, should be used only to understand Vedic knowledge. At the present time, there are many educational institutions for training and technology, but such knowledge has nothing to do with understanding of the absolute truth. Technology, therefore, is meant for the Sudras, whereas the Vedas are meant for the Dvijas, the twice-born. That means twice-born, yeah, you're born, but then you also become initiated by a bona fide guru. That means twice-born. Consequently, this verse states, Dvijo ditya vabudya cha trayim sangopani sadam. At the present time, in the age of Kali, practically everyone is a Sudra, and no one is a Dvija. Therefore, the condition of society has very much deteriorated. Another point to be observed from this verse is that from the Brahmachari ashrama, one may accept the Sannyasa ashrama, Vanaprastha ashrama, or the Grihastha ashrama. It is not compulsory for a Brahmachari to become a Grihastha, because the ultimate aim is to understand the absolute truth. There is no necessity of going through all the different ashramas. Thus, one may proceed to the Sannyasa ashrama directly from the Brahmachari ashrama. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura accepted the Sannyasa ashrama directly from the Brahmachari ashrama. In other words, His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura did not think it compulsory to accept the Grihastha ashram or Vanaprastha ashrama. Huh? We're over? Okay. Well, I think I scared you enough with all this information, so we'll stop right there. Jai Shri Krishna Bhagavan Ki Jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes.
I have a question on the lesson that we did today.
Yeah.
It really bothered me, Maharaj, just listening to the lesson. And it made me wonder, why did Krishna make man like that?
Make what?
Make man like that, such that, like the
Why did he make woman also?
Exactly. Like this is a demonic quality, right? Like at least in my head, that's how I'm thinking. Like if somebody has to control their thoughts even with their mother or sister or daughter, so that they shouldn't be like that. That is a demonic quality. At least that's how I am viewing. So it made me wonder, like, why did Krishna made man like that, or made human like that? Maybe I should not say man.
Well, if you mean why does he insist on a man and a woman to follow these, you can say, strict rules? It's so that they can become qualified to go back to Godhead. Yeah. That's what you're saying? Well, because man is not made to be weak, but because of bad association, someone becomes weak and is not capable of controlling his or her senses. It could be a woman also. So that's why there are rules and regulations of how to how men should act and how women should act. So that's the Krishna conscious culture. It's this culture of Krishna consciousness is to help men and women achieve the perfect stage of Krishna consciousness and go back to the spiritual world. We're not supposed to stay in the material world birth after birth and enjoy all kinds of horrible sense gratification. We're meant to control our senses and engage in devotional service, man and woman. And that way become qualified to go back to Godhead. That's my understanding. If you have a better understanding, you can speak now. So therefore, we should not be critical of this. We should understand that yes, there is the possibility for men and women to live together and have children and raise the children. But at a certain moment or a certain time, they have to give it up. After the children are grown and married, then husband and wife have to engage in very strict life, just like a sannyasi, and engage always in devotional service. So that is, now, you don't have to get married, right? There's no absolute rule that you have to be married. However, if you feel that you would function better by getting married, it's okay, but you still have to follow strict rules of not indulging in illicit sex and things like that. So these rules are made to help you become free from continual birth, death, old age, and disease in the material world. It's organized in such a way that you can go through the different stages of life and not become addicted to sense gratification. If we get addicted to sense gratification, then we'll never be able to make any tangible spiritual advancement. But even though there are rules and regulations in Krishna consciousness, actually you feel great, let's say, relief, because you're following the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness. You're allowed to have children. You're allowed to raise the children. You're allowed to be married. But it's under rules and regulations given by the Shastra. It's not made up by anybody. These rules are Shastric rules, and that means it's coming down directly from Krishna. So we don't say you're not allowed to get married. We don't say women are bad or men are bad. There are rules and regulations made by Krishna himself. It's not that some men or women got together and said, okay, we'll do it like this. No, these rules are coming directly from Krishna. And if we follow them, we have a very peaceful and happy life. And if we don't follow them, well, we'll be confused and we'll always have difficulties in life. Hare Krishna. Yes. Yeah. He did not make what? A man to be weak. Okay. Well, uh, Krishna doesn't want you to be a sense gratifier. He wants you to be able to control your senses and live a clean life and make tangible spiritual advancement and go back to Godhead. That's what he wants. So, but he has made things rather easy to achieve that now. In previous times, it was very, very strict. I mean, severely strict. Now, it's still strict, but it's not like not like a prison. Let's put it like that. So we can have a simple and happy life, make spiritual advancement, and go back to Godhead without feeling that we are denied something. That's the way the program is now. That you can have a full life, go through all the different stages of life, and still make spiritual advancement and be qualified to go back to spiritual world if we follow the rules and regulations of Vaishnava culture. That's my understanding. Haribol. Thank you very much. All glories to